Hey there, and welcome to this short demonstration video on how to do a barbell squat. We're going to be looking through how to get yourself set up on the barbell and actually performing a decent squat. So the first thing I generally look for when it comes to a barbell squat is the rack position. The rack position should be pretty much in line with your shoulders. So if you get yourself nice underneath the bar, you should be able to unrack it and be able to take a step back with no issue whatsoever. The next thing to have a look at is actually how we actually walk towards the bar and make sure it's in a nice position so it's easy and comfortable when it comes to stepping back into the actual squat. So there's a few ways we can have a look at this as well, and there's two ways we can also position this on a bar. If we're looking at high, what do you call it now? High bar, low bar, yeah. If we're looking at our high bar, we want to be most of all resting it on the back of our shoulders around the top and near our traps. If we're looking for a low bar, we're looking for middle of probably our scapula, which is also our shoulder blade. So for this demonstration today, I'm going to be showing you a high bar variation. So what I generally do when it comes to my hands, I generally just go straight outside of my shoulder width position. Most barbells have two little rings that we go through there. I go from the outer ring and making sure that my fist is on the inside of that. Once I've done that, I take a nice step in, making sure my whole body, including my ankles towards my shoulders, are right underneath the bar. From here, a nice tall stay back, and I always take a nice step back into position. When we're looking into the ascend, we're looking for a few things as well. We're looking for the hips to come back to make sure we're loading. At the same time that is happening, we're looking for the knees to pass over. So the center of mass should always stay central. So at the bottom position, we're looking for ankles to be in line with the bar. So if I were to do a demonstration right now, that's generally what we're looking at before. There's a few other things to obviously take into consideration when it comes into squatting as well. One of the biggest components is obviously foot position and hip width position. When it comes to squatting, I generally say just outside hip width position, so shoulder width position with feet slightly facing outwards. Obviously that's going to depend from person to person. For me, I'm 5'7", so for me I have a general quite natural stand. But for someone who maybe is a lot taller than I, you might want to go for a wider position, and someone who might be shorter than me might want to go for a more narrow position. Again, it all depends on comfortability. One thing that could be suddenly a lacking point for squatting is ankle mobility. Ankle mobility plays a massive part in the squatting because it allows the knee to pass over for the hips to sit back into position. If you are limited by ankle mobility, something dead simple you can do is get either a wedge or two little plates, put them down to the position that we're going to be using, and put our heels on it. What this is going to do, this is going to allow us to have an increase in artificial ankle mobility. So if I were to do an example now of my normal range, and do an example now with my heel elevated, you can see that my mobility is now a lot better, which means that my centre of mass is now back over to my ankles and I'm not causing my knees any issues. Next thing to have a look at when we're doing squatting is also our breathing mechanics as well. Before we get ourselves underneath a load, we want to be making sure we're having a nice deep breath in, filling that stomach in with air and bracing hard to make sure that the spine stays neutral throughout the whole movement. We do that from what obviously we're doing is take a nice deep breath with the nose, expand that stomach from here, tense the abdomen, and that is how we would keep a nice little brace from there. Then from there, the next position to have a look at is to drive upwards. So, if I were to get myself back into that bottom position, from here what I want to do is think about driving the floor down instead of bringing myself up. What this is going to do is going to get my quads engaged, squeeze the glutes nice and hard, drive the knees out, and find myself in a really good position. So if I were to repeat that whole process again from the start, instead of breaking it down. So I'm going to walk towards the bar now, make sure my hands are just outside shoulder width position. I'm going to then come to walk up to the bar, find a comfortable position in that high bar position, stack myself nice and up, take a step back, get into that nice comfortable feet position in heaps. From there I'm going to take a nice deep breath, find that brace, then from there I'm going to descend, push my hips back as well as my knee pushing forwards, up to that point of a hip bridge position. From here, I'm thinking about driving the floor down, keeping that torso nice and upright, to the top position. Bring myself forward, drop the bar down, and that is how you do a barbell squat.